Yo, I actually think I have to turn that on now. Hold on, give me a second here. Turn it down now. It's actually starting to get dark outside. What's up, everybody? Rage. Cage. Here. Just call Cage. Call me Cage. We're buddies, right? We can call each other by Cage. Cage here. We're back with Mr. Ballen. We got This Child Stars Evil. And that face sure does look, I mean, I don't know if I'd say evil, but I'd definitely say kind of looks like a douchebag. Now, what are we doing over here? I need you to focus. Stop blinking at me. Alright, the light's freaking out. I think we're good. Anyways. Yo. For those of you who've not watched any of my Mr. Ballen stuff, let me just tell you right now. I probably skipped away by now, but let me just tell you, regardless, we pause a lot here. We pause like a fuckload here. And if that's not your style, feel free to walk away and live another day. You don't need to check this shit out and waste your time. I won't be offended. Just don't at me in the motherfucking comments, alright? Keep my pauses out your motherfucking mouth, if you know what I'm saying. But anyways, I don't know if I've ever seen this child star. I don't know what this child star has done. I'm very interested to see where this story goes. It's a decently long one, so we shouldn't waste any more time. We should just jump right back into this bad boy. Let's do such. Bring us on down here, Mr. B. Regale me with an amazing story. Let's fucking go.
Of the hundreds of stories I have covered on this channel, today's story is going to easily rank in the top 5 most distressing I have ever covered.
Whoa, that's saying a lot.
Now, there is not any graphic footage or images included. However, there is a very upsetting sequence that happens at the end of this story. And so for that reason, viewer discretion is advised. But before we get into today's story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once or twice every week. So if that's of interest to you, please take the like button hostage and force them to wash your dishes while wearing a very long sleeve shirt. But don't allow them to roll their sleeves up. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's story.
That's a pretty good one right there. I don't know what that is. Oh, it's just a gap. So what's that? White mark.
In 1986, Tom Hawks was a 39-year-old father of two
Hey, we locked in this time. 1986. I'm in it. We got it this time. Okay, sorry, my bad. I was just excited. I missed the last twice. So, 1986.
In 1986, Tom Hawks was a 39-year-old father of 2 teenage boys. He had previously been married to his boys' mother, but they had ultimately gotten a divorce. That year, Tom and his 2 sons were at this local chili cook-off in their neighborhood in Newport Beach, California, when Tom was looking out across the sea of people, and he sees this stunningly beautiful woman he's never seen before, and he just finds himself staring at her. And he stares at her so long that this woman, she ends up noticing, and she looks up and kind of smiles and blushes and looks away, and Tom immediately is totally embarrassed because he just got caught staring at her, and so he decides, you know what, I gotta go over there and introduce myself. And so Tom, who's this totally ruggedly handsome, muscular guy with this incredible mustache, he strides across the lawn and he walks up to this woman and he introduces himself, and she is all smiles, and she says her name is Jackie and she's 29 years old and she's single. And from that point onward, those two completely hit it off. They fell madly in love, and just a few years later, in 1989, they got married in front of 150 of their closest friends and family, and then after the wedding, Jackie moved in.
I don't know if either of these sons, or if it's a new son that they have together, I don't know, is the child star, because it looks like a male. I could be wrong. But that fucking face, though, just got me off guard, man. That one got me. My bad.
again with Tom and his two boys. And even though the boys' mother was still alive, they began calling Jackie Mom, because Jackie not only lived with them, but also because she was so devoted to them, and she just was such a loving and kind person that it just made sense to do that. Also, Jackie, when she was 22 years old, she had gotten into this horrific motorcycle accident, and the internal damage that accident had done to her had left her unable to have kids of her own, something she had always wanted to do. And so when she had the opportunity to be these boys' mother, she really leaned into it. And so she was like this fabulous mother. So over the years, Tom and Jackie raised their two sons. And then in 2002, when the boys were all grown up, they left the house. Now, this was a sad moment for Tom and Jackie to suddenly be empty nesters. I mean, so much of their identity was wrapped up in being parents, and they were very close with their sons. But at the same time, they knew this day was coming, and they had actually been preparing for it for several years. They had been putting money aside every single year to prepare for when their sons left, because they wanted to time it so they could retire at the same time. And their idea of retirement was to go buy a yacht and just live on the yacht and sail up and down the California and Mexican coastline. Now, neither Jackie nor Tom were wealthy at all. However, they were very good at saving money, and they were very disciplined, and they could live frugally. And so over the past couple of years, they really had saved virtually every penny so they could afford to buy this yacht. And so finally in 2002, when their sons do actually leave, Tom and Jackie, they sell their house in Newport Beach, California. And between the proceeds from the sale of their house and all this money they had set aside, they had enough to purchase this kind of beat up old small yacht.
Well deserved. That's a pretty good, cool name. So was this like wherever I may roam, where I lay my head is home situation? Because I was just like, they're gonna buy a yacht, go on fishing trips, might last for some years of stuff. They sold their house, so there's like no going back. They saved up for approximately 20 years, no, like 15, 16 years. And then like sold their house at the same time, and Mr. Ballen's description was only good enough to buy a beat up old yacht. The money on a house and saving for over a decade, and they got a not fresh off the boat, not off the boat, fresh off the market premium new yacht. Dang, I know it's expensive, but like, damn.
And so this yacht they named the Well-Deserved. Even though this yacht was by no means a glamorous yacht like you think of when you hear that word, Tom and Jackie adored this boat. And so as soon as it was theirs and they had docked it in Newport, they moved all of their belongings onto this boat because they're going to live on this boat. And then they began meticulously cleaning it and organizing it and upgrading it everywhere they could within their limited budget. And by the summer of that year, this boat was beautiful, both on the outside and the inside. It was very cozy and very clearly had the...
So, if you watch the last story, the reason why I pause here, the reason why I discuss this here, if you watch the last story, ABC News 2020, on the last story when we saw that, someone got murdered. So, yeah, I got a real bad feeling about these two, but we haven't even... Wait, let me look at the picture again. Because I was just thinking to myself, we haven't even got, speaking about a child, I thought it was going to be one of their children. Their children was going to be child stars and stuff like that. This child star is evil, and we're only focusing on these two people. Looking at the picture, predictions already. It's pure genius at work here. Roll with me. The man, whatever his name was, Not Jackie, the other one. The dude in this, is he that child star? We're starting at the end where he maybe murders his wife at sea? The last act of this evilness? Either we just had big brain moment or I'm like completely off. Or they just get boarded by this evil person, killed that way or something like that. I don't know. I'm assuming killed just because this is an ABC News and they only really report tragedies. They might still be alive. Nah, high hopes. At least not for Jackie.
Of Tom and Jackie. It was a home. And so for the next 2 years, Tom and Jackie, they lived the dream. They took that yacht and just sailed up and down the coast of California and Mexico, and they would watch these beautiful sunsets, and they would catch fresh fish, and they would drink cocktails together. I mean, they were really enjoying their retirement. Then, in 2004, they got some unexpected news. One of their sons told them that he was now expecting to be a father. And so this baby was going to be the first grandchild of Tom and Jackie.
Maybe with the child hasn't been introduced yet. I'm just, I might be off here. I thought I was onto some real fire there. We'll see.
And they were so excited, especially Jackie, because remember, she wasn't able to have kids of her own, and she just loved the idea of getting to be motherly again and the idea of getting to hold this precious little baby. And so even though Tom and Jackie were absolutely loving living out on this yacht, they decided that the time was right to actually sell the yacht and then take the proceeds from the sale of the yacht and buy a house on land to be closer to their son and this grandbaby. So in November of that year, the Hawks place an ad in this fishing magazine for the sale of their yacht. They were asking for about $500,000. And very quickly after this ad went live, this young couple who had saved up some cash, they offered to buy it. Tom and Jackie were totally thrilled, and they called their two sons to tell them the good news that they had this buyer and that in the next couple of days the sale would be finalized and then they would be in touch. And so the sons, they're expecting to get a phone call from Tom and Jackie any day. But a couple of days goes by and they haven't heard from them. And so the sons begin calling their parents, and their parents aren't picking up their phone.
Going back.
Now, Tom and Jackie were not the type to go any amount of time without being in touch with their family. And so this was very uncharacteristic. And so when Tom's brother, Jim, who was a retired police chief, when he heard about this sudden silence, he just got in his car and drove to Newport Beach, California to see if maybe they had not finalized the sale of the yacht and maybe the couple was still on the yacht and he could go check in with them and make sure everything was okay. And so Jim, along with a friend of his, they arrive in Newport Beach, they make their way to the dock where the yacht was being held, and they go down to the floating section of the dock and they walk right up alongside the well-deserved, and just from where they're standing, it does not seem like anyone is on the yacht. However, as they're standing there just kind of looking at this yacht right in front of them, Jim notices a couple of oddities. He sees there are lines hanging over the side of the boat that should have been stowed. And Tom was known for being incredibly meticulous and orderly. I mean, that yacht was spick and span always. And so he would not have left these lines draped over the edge of the boat unless he was on board, and he wasn't. And so Jim's also looking around and he sees there are a couple of tarps that go over some of the control panels that had been taken off, but then not put back on the control panels. And so
some real, retired police officer here. What he said, sheriff, something, I don't know. Investigative work right here. Eye for detail. I wish more cops paid more attention like this in a lot of these stories. But hey, good on you.
Again, that's not something Tom or Jackie would have done. And then there's also some dirty towels kind of hanging out of one of the portholes. And so overall, the impression Jim and this friend got was, I guess they must have finalized the sale of this yacht, because clearly the new owners of this boat, they're the ones that are in possession of it, and they're the reason it's sloppy, because Tom and Jackie, they never would leave the boat in this condition. And so Jim pulls out his own business card and he writes a note on it that he's looking to speak with the new owners of this boat because his brother and his brother's wife had sold this boat to them, but now they're missing. And so please give me a call back. And so Jim and his friend, they leave the boat, they leave the dock, and they begin to leave.
Now, did they check the boat? That's my question, because it doesn't sound. It sounds. They said like he's not on it, but I don't recall them thoroughly. Him, I might have missed it. Mr. Ballen saying that they thoroughly checked, scoped the whole boat out and whatnot, which I could understand that if they, if the police officer thought like, oh, this is clearly someone else's purchased boat and whatnot. At this point, that would be trespassing and or breaking and entering. I know it's a yacht. It's not like a house, but I feel like that would still be considered the same thing. So like you can't just trespass on other people's property and possession. So like maybe they didn't do it because of that, but I don't know.
The area when Jim's cell phone rings and he picks it up, and it's this 21-year-old woman named Jennifer De Leon. And so she tells Jim that she got his business card.
Ponce de Leon. Descendant. This all makes sense now.
On her yacht, and that yes, she and her husband had recently purchased this yacht from the Hawks, but like Jim, they were having a hard time getting in touch with the Hawks as well, because after acquiring their boat, Jennifer said she and her husband realized there were a couple of controls on the boat that they didn't know how to use, and so they needed to talk to Tom and Jackie to explain how to use them. Also, Jennifer said she had found some personal belongings that belonged to Tom and Jackie that were stuffed in a couple of drawers that just got left behind, and so she wanted to return that property to them as well. But she's telling Jim, I'm trying to get in touch with them and I can't get in touch with them. And so Jim asked Jennifer, when was the last time you or your husband saw Tom
Jennifer's
or
looking
Jackie?
sus right now.
And she would say, the last time we saw them was when we actually finalized the sale of the boat, when we literally gave them the money and we watched them take the money, hop in their car and drive away. Jim asked her if she had any idea where they might have been going, and Jennifer said, we really didn't have that many personal conversations with Tom or Jackie. It was mostly just business stuff. But in the limited personal interactions we did have, Tom would always talk about how he and Jackie planned on buying a house in Mexico in this town that bordered Arizona.
The story feels like it's full of holes, man. I don't know if I trust it.
Because apparently they have a son that lives in Arizona and he's about to have a baby, and they were talking about how they
know
wanted to
too
be very
much.
close. Jim thanked Jennifer and asked her, if you hear from Tom or Jackie, please let me know. And then Jennifer says to Jim, same thing to you. If you hear from them, please.
I'd be like, or if you murdered them and know where their bodies are, I'd love to hear that from you as well. Like, Jennifer, I don't know. It could be a classic Mr. B red herring, but like suspicious.
Let me know because I need to talk to them too. And so they hang up, and Jim is left thinking, what's going on here? And then Jim remembers there's this woman that Tom and Jackie had hired. Her name was Patricia. And for the past couple of years that they had been out on their boat, they knew they would not have great internet. And so they would not be able to consistently be able to pay their bills and pay taxes. And so they had hired this woman, Patricia, who was also a friend of theirs, to basically pay their bills and manage their finances. And so Jim gets her number and he calls Patricia. And the first thing he asks her is, hey, have you spoken with Tom or Jackie recently? And she says, no, I haven't. And so Jim explains the situation and then asks Patricia, has Tom or Jackie recently made a large deposit into any of their accounts? Because just a couple of days ago, they would have received nearly $500,000. And so Patricia, she checks the accounts and she says, no, there's been no deposits made. And so Jim and Patricia are talking on the phone, trying to rationalize why Tom and Jackie would not have deposited so much money. And they really couldn't come up with a reasonable explanation for it. And so after Jim hung up with Patricia, he just had a bad feeling about what was going on. And so Jim called the Newport Beach Police Department and he officially reported Tom and Jackie missing. The first thing the Newport Beach Police Department did with this missing person report was to do some digging on the new buyers of this yacht, the De Leons. And when they looked at the 25-year-old husband named Skyler, they discovered he was a felon. He had been arrested and convicted of armed robbery and had spent some time in.
Hair color's different, but that could be dyed. Eyes, say it looked like the same soulless blackish brown eyes. Ears are similar. Again, And also, it's funny that the two stories back to back. I'm pretty sure the other one was Skylar as well. The girl. I was just like, I'm used to that being male. But I guess that could be a gender, my bad, neutral name. Yeah. I don't know. Those ears, because the way they kind of poke out a little bit, is looking a little. The eyes and the ears. I think we got our child star, y'all. I think we got. Wait.
Jail for it. And so naturally, the police were immediately suspicious of Skylar De Leon and really the De Leons in general because they were the last ones to see the Hawks before they went missing. And so they sent one of their detectives down to the dock to just kind of walk around the yacht and just kind of feel it out, see what's going on down there, see if there's anything unusual. And so this detective goes down to the dock, they walk onto the floating section of the dock, and they walk right up alongside the well-deserved. And from the looks of it, it doesn't appear that anybody's on board. And as this detective is kind of looking in the window and just kind of looking around, they think they see what looks like a bloody handprint inside the boat. And so that would end up being enough to get a search warrant.
Yeah,
and before
for sure. Now, I don't know much about these people or their plans or what they were going to do, at least at the current moment. If you did commit murder inside this boat, you know, an interesting thing about that, it's a boat. You don't have to leave it there. You could like drive it away to the middle of nowhere and either leave it there or just drive it to a new location where people can't find you. You know, like a different country, different state. You know what I mean? Like, there's many ways to go about this where you like maybe there's like a warrant for your arrest because you know they can't get a hold of you and you're a suspect, but like there's many ways that if you did this they could never find, well, not never find you, but they won't find you again, you know what I mean? Like very cocky if they are in fact the ones, if he is in fact the child star, which I was hoping it was going to be like the forefront, the focal point, just like watching him like in his shows and stuff and learning about the child as he grew up and whatnot. It's a little disappointing. But like, if this person is a killer, why don't you just take the boat and go drive away? You know what I mean? Also, while the De Leons were not there, you could have probably, if they left all the evidence on the thing, like, homie could have been like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that this wasn't your guys's. I thought this still belonged to my whatever relation he was. I was just looking for them because we haven't heard from them in a while. You know, you have an out. Could have checked the boat, you know what I mean?
long that day, there were police swarming this boat, looking all over it. But it would turn out that was not a bloody handprint. It was actually just some rust, and there was nothing else of significance that was found on board this boat. Okay. And so the police are pretty frustrated because they really don't have any leads. And so they contact Skylar De Leon and they say, hey, you need to come into the police station and explain exactly what happened during your final interaction with the Hawks. And so Skylar comes to the police station. He's totally cooperative, and he explains to the detectives that, you know, he saw this ad in this fishing magazine for a yacht. He contacted Tom Hawk and said, I'm interested. The two of them met up and then went out for a sea trial, which is basically a test drive, but for a boat. And during the sea trial, Skylar told Tom that he liked the boat and he wanted to go forward with the purchase. And so on November 15th, Skylar, along with his pregnant wife and his young daughter, and also a notary and another person, a friend of Skylar's that was there just kind of as a witness, they go to the parking lot of the dock, right?
I mean, that better be the correct story, because you just left tons of dead ends right there. Well, not dead ends. What's the word I'm looking for? Loose ends. You left tons of loose ends. Like, if they can, like, you tell them who this notary is, and they find out that person either doesn't exist, or you find this person like never happened, and they And the other person you said who was also there, like you just specify witnesses. So if this didn't happen, or as they find out this person's not a real notary or something like that, maybe it's just their friends. It's just like, hey, corroborate this story, dog. We'll get you money.
Near where the yacht is, and then the Hawks show up,
Loose
Tom and
ends right
Jackie,
there.
and the De Leons literally hand over a suitcase full of cash to Tom, and then Tom and Jackie, with the notary, they signed the sale documentation, basically giving the boat over to the De Leons, and then Tom and Jackie took their suitcase full of cash, hopped in their SUV, and they drove off, presumably to go to Mexico. When the police asked Skyler, how were you able to afford such an expensive vessel, Skyler would tell them that back in the 1990s, he was actually a child star, or kind of. He was an extra on the very popular TV show Power Rangers, and from being on that show, he had made a bunch of money and he had set it aside. And as Skyler is telling the detectives this, he kind of just stops himself at some point and he's like, you know what? That's not really the truth. The reality is the reason we had the money to do this is not because of the cash I got from being a child star. It's actually because I stole the money. It would turn out that armed robbery that Skyler was convicted for and spent some time in jail for, that was because he was stealing money from this drug kingpin. And before he was arrested and sent off to jail, he had managed to take the money that he had stolen and hide it. And then after he had gone to jail and got out again, he came back to his hiding space and he just retrieved the money. But this money was stolen drug money, so it was hot. And so he needed to get rid of it. He needed to launder the money.
Yeah. Because obviously you can't deposit that. The IRS is going to be up your fucking ass. Did they trace that money somehow?
And so that was why he was buying this yacht. He was going to buy it with this dirty money in bulk, in cash, and basically transform this hot, dirty money into this yacht. And then he was going to sell the yacht and get clean money for it.
Right.
And so the police are totally shocked at this confession because Skyler has just completely incriminated himself in a money laundering scheme. But the police would ultimately say to Skyler, you know what? We're not going to charge you with money laundering because you're being so forthright and helpful with this investigation. And so they let Skyler go. The police would go on to interview Skyler's wife, Jennifer, as well as the notary and also that other friend who had come along for that final sale of the boat who was there as a witness. And so the police interview all three of those people and they ask them, what was your final interaction with Tom and Jackie like? And they all described the same situation of seeing Tom and Jackie taking the suitcase full of cash and then signing the paperwork, hopping in their car and driving off. The only detail that seemed to differ amongst these four people who were there was the way Tom and Jackie were acting. Skyler made it seem like Tom was kind of anxious and paranoid about having all this money, whereas the notary said, Tom and Jackie seemed completely normal to me. After all the interviews with these people who had seen Tom and Jackie last, the police felt like they had kind of reached a dead end and just didn't know what to do next. And so they went to the media and asked them to put out a bulletin that had a picture of Tom and Jackie, as well as a picture of their vehicle, and it asked people to come forward if they had seen them. And sure enough, within a couple of days of this bulletin going out on TV, this older couple in Mexico called the police to say the Hawks SUV is right across the street from me right now. It's parked right on the road. So naturally, the Mexican authorities, as well as American authorities, they rush to this location and they charge up to the house where this SUV is parked, and they're kind of expecting to find Jackie and Tom inside, or someone that at least knows Tom and Jackie. But when they knock on the door, this guy nobody recognized, someone who was living in Mexico, he comes up to the door and he's looking very confused, and the police ask him, whose SUV is that parked outside? And he said, oh, well, that's my friend's car. And they say, well, is your friend Tom or Jackie Hawks? And the guy's like, no, who's that? The car belongs to Skyler De Leon. This was, of course, the moment when the police...
Oh, Skyler. Dude, this photo of Skyler, he looks like a Skyler. He looks like that surfer bro dude, Skyler. Like, yeah, I could see that. Fuck, damn, that just heated up instantly, dog. Halfway through, we just got hot. The story just got hot. All right, man, let's fucking go.
Realized Skyler was lying to them. He had told police the last time he had seen Jackie and Tom, they had hopped in their SUV and they had driven off. But
I mean, that might be true. Just like they didn't actually hop in there with thrown. Their dead bodies were thrown in. That part might have just been left out a little bit.
Clearly, that was not the last time, because he somehow managed to acquire their car afterwards, and then he gave it to this random person in Mexico. So the police in Newport Beach, they used Skylar's money laundering confession on camera to bring him in. They arrested him on money laundering, and then with him in custody, they searched his home. And inside of his and Jennifer's house, they found all these things that belonged to the Hawks. Things like laptops and video cameras, things Tom and Jackie would not have left behind on the boat. But despite all this evidence connecting Skylar De Leon to the Hawks' disappearance, he maintained his innocence and said this was just a big misunderstanding. And then while he was in custody getting grilled by police, his wife, Jennifer, was also saying the same thing, that Skylar didn't do anything. She was even going on talk shows and talking about how this is just one big misunderstanding and Skylar had nothing to do with the Hawks' disappearance. That they are...
I'm wondering if she's in the dark or if she's a rat to die. Interesting.
Just as concerned about Tom and Jackie as everybody else is. But the police were not buying it. They knew Skylar knew something that he wasn't telling them, 100%. Obviously. However, they weren't really getting anywhere interviewing Skylar. He was just kind of saying, look, I had nothing to do with it. And so the police decide, let's go back and re-interview the notary and also that other friend who was there as a witness on that day that the final sale of the boat took place. And so they call the notary back into the police department, and the notary is this woman named Kathleen Harris, who's never gotten in trouble in her life, and she's been a very successful notary for a long time. And so she sits down, and they ask her again to describe her final interactions with Tom and Jackie. And once again, she says, yep, they came over, they signed the paperwork, they took their cash, they got in their SUV, and they drove off. But under follow-on, very intensive questioning by the police, Kathleen would finally break. And she would say, actually, I've never met Tom and Jackie in my entire life.
Loose end, baby. That's what I said. Loose motherfucking end. Bet she got paid off. I bet she got paid off. Because when he was saying, like, all their stories was matching up, I was just like, that's either because that's exactly what happened, or they got told exactly what to say and exactly how to say it. Very suspicious when there's no, like, when they're saying verbatim the same stuff. It's like, you know. That's what we call. That's how you fuck up right there. That's what we call a loose end. Why would you say that there was a notary and witnesses when there wasn't? Loose end, motherfucker. And then you try to pay him off to corroborate the story. Come on, dog. Rookie move here.
Was paid up front in cash by Skylar De Leon to backdate those sale documents that had already been signed. I have no idea what happened to Tom and Jackie. Next, the police went out and got that friend who was also there at the time of the final sale, that witness. His name was Alonzo Mason. And so they bring him in and they ask him, what was your final interaction like with Tom and Jackie?
Squealer.
And at first he stuck to the story that, they got the cash, they hopped in the SUV, they drove off, that's all it was. And the police stop him and they're like, we just spoke to the notary, and she said she was lying. She wasn't even there. She had backdated those documents, so we know you're lying. And so as soon as Alonzo got caught red-handed, he began to clam up. And it was pretty obvious he did not want to say anything else.
He's a fucking squealer.
And since the police really needed something to happen with this case, they said to Alonzo, we will make sure your sentence is heavily reduced if you tell us everything you know about what happened to Tom and Jackie. And so Alonzo says, okay, I'll tell you. Alonzo was...
Hold on, Alonzo. I want that in writing. You want that in writing first, Alonzo. That's what you want right there. I need that in writing. Otherwise, I don't see shit.
Was a young guy, very impressionable. He was in his early to mid 20s, and he was actually a jailer. And he had met Skylar when Skylar was in jail. He was in jail for that armed robbery. Yeah. And so after Skylar gets out of jail, Alonzo and Skylar somehow stay friends, and they spend a lot of time together. And then in November of 2004, Skylar pulls Alonzo aside, and he confesses to him that he is in fact an international assassin, that people paid him to kill people, but only bad people, Skylar said. And he says to Alonzo, I have a current contract on two really bad people, Tom and Jackie Hawks, but I need help carrying this out. And so if you will help me carry out this contract, I will give you $1 million US. And so Alonzo's like, man, okay, yeah, I'll help you. And so on November 15th, Skylar, Alonzo, and a third man that Skylar had recruited to be a part of this job. He was this big, muscular...
Dude. I mean, he probably needed it because, like, the other dude, that's not Skylar, didn't look like he was packing a lot. I don't know what crime ended him in jail. But, like, he doesn't look like he's ready to fight big, muscular Tom dude. But like, dude, this guy is he's just setting up loose end after loose end after loose end after loose end. Like, homie, you gonna get caught if you throw around this many loose ends. Like, someone gonna squeal, man. Like, goddamn, everyone ended up squealing this dude. Like, not that I'm trying to encourage, because you should not be out here murdering fucking people and stealing from the cartel, blah blah blah, whatever all these lies probably are. Like, you shouldn't be doing this stuff, but like, it's worse when you do it and you're a dumbass about it. You know what I mean? It's like somehow insulting to the people that you kill. Like, I mean, it's nice because you probably end up getting caught, but it's just like, I don't know, if someone was going to kill me, I would prefer it to be like, I don't know why I would prefer this. It doesn't really make any sense, but like, I feel like it would make me feel better if it was like some trained assassin, not even a fucking trace. Like, I got taken out by a professional, like, obviously, like, I didn't stand a chance, you know what I mean? Kind of makes me feel a little bit better instead of like, this bumbling dumbass fucking took me out. It's some bullshit, you know what I mean? Like, in a weird way, kind of feels like an insult, you know what I'm saying? So this dude, like, just, it's like, hey, let me just have like 20 different loose ends so I can just guarantee that I get caught. Like, it's just dumb. Straight up dumb. There's no other way to put it. It's just fucking dumb.
Intimidating looking guy who was actually a longtime Southern California gang member. His name was John Kennedy. Those three, they show up at the parking.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, like, yeah, dude, this guy, who's he taking out? Who's Alonzo taking out? Skylar is a little bit more square, a little bit more round and stuff. But like, I don't know if he's really assassinating anyone anytime soon, especially not Tom. Tom, like, fucking no shirt, big jack motherfucker. This guy looks like he could get the job done. He looks like he's swole as fuck. I don't know, like, muscle-wise or just big-wise, but he looks like he could take some people down. Like, they definitely needed help. They just scrawny motherfuckers over here.
Lot of the dock, not to finalize the sale of this yacht. They weren't even close to finalizing the sale.
Yeah.
They were there to meet.
That's what I was going to say. Like, just like, usually, like, handing over, like, legal ownership of a car from person to person takes a while. Like, I don't think yachts are just like 2 to 3 days. Yep, cool, we have it now. Bye. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's how that works legally. So, yeah, I would say not even close sounds accurate.
Meet up with Tom and Jackie to do a sea trial, a test drive. But when Tom and Jackie arrive, Tom, who was a longtime probation officer and so was very used to being around felons and convicts, he immediately sized these three up and thought, bad news. And
no, 100%. And he's fucking buff as hell, man. Yeah, no, yeah. Just looking at Alonso alone was just like, no, like first off, you don't look good. You don't look like a good person, and you also look like the rat of the group. Like I swear, I just look at him, and he was just like, he's the Peter Pettigrew, like, like he's gonna turn and squeal on you the second he gets to save his own hide, kind of looking motherfucker. Like I wouldn't, if I was Skylar, I wouldn't trust him in my entourage. Like that dude was a born rat. He's a weasel like a motherfucker.
So when the two parties met each other in the parking lot, Skylar started to notice that Tom was definitely apprehensive about getting on a boat with them. In fact, Tom was talking about potentially rescheduling and that, today is not a good day. And Skylar's seeing, okay, they're clearly uneasy about getting on the boat with us. And so Skylar says, hey, Tom, Jackie, hold on a minute. I'm going to step aside and make a phone call. And so Skylar steps aside and he calls his wife, Jennifer, and she was not far away. And so just a couple of minutes later, Jennifer pulls into the parking lot carrying her little one.
Let's see, first off, I had a feeling ride or die. Motherfucker right here. I knew it. They brought their child to a murder scene. Like, and not after the murder, during. They used... He used a feminine image, being Jennifer, and a child to be like, don't worry guys, totally safe. We wouldn't do anything in front of a pregnant woman and her child. I could, you know what, when you said it gets kind of distressing and disturbing near the end, and they say that it is evil, Mr. B wasn't kidding. He wasn't wrong. Like, that's fucked up. And he knew she was lying through her teeth, man.
Year-old baby girl. And as soon as she walks over to this group, the dynamic completely changes. Jackie sees this baby and she immediately falls in love with it and she wants to hold the baby and she loves Jennifer. Jennifer is so sweet. And so Jackie seems very much at ease and Tom notices that. And so Tom begins to loosen up and before long, Tom is saying to Skylar, you know what guys? Today's fine. Let's do the sea trial. And so the group eventually begins to make their way onto the yacht, the well-deserved, to do the sea trial. Man. And right as they're about to get on, Jennifer says, hey guys, I can't go on the sea trial. The baby's upset. I gotta go home. I'll see you guys when you get back. And at this point, Tom and Jackie, they've already committed to doing the sea trial. And so even if they were a little bit apprehensive going on this boat with just these three guys, they put their faith in the De Leons that this was on the up and up. So the two Hawks, along with these three men, they get on board the boat and they
I don't know, man. Like, that's a tough spot right there. It's just like, oh, actually, yeah, nah, I'm not getting on. It's like, I doubt these guys carried ranged weaponry. No, not the people doing the assassinating. I'm sure they did not. And I'm also starting to think that rust might not have been rust. But I don't know. The police searched it up and down, that I think. Yeah. I don't know about that one. I would have been like, you know what? No, it's not going down like this. Which, of course, probably would have kicked off whatever events were going to happen anyways. But, like, I would rather get stabbed in the front than in the back. You know what I mean? Be like, all right, we doing this, boys? Like, this is how it's gonna be, and let's do this. I'm not gonna win, but you know what? Gonna give my girl a head start, and let's go. Just hope they don't have guns.
Again, heading out towards open water. And so Tom was piloting the boat. And at some point, when they were very far away from the dock and really any land in any direction, Skylar and John come up.
I also, if I was Tom, would have stayed tested near public locations. I wouldn't have gone out to the sea, no matter what they said. But like, no, we need eyeballs. You know what I mean?
Tom, and they say, hey, we want to show you something down in the lower levels of the ship. And so Tom goes with them. They go downstairs into the bedroom. No. And while they're down there, Alonzo and Jackie were in the kitchen, which is right above the bedroom. And as they're standing there, Alonzo and Jackie suddenly hear this very loud commotion coming from the bedroom. Now, Alonzo knew what
is Alonzo about to fake interest? But like, oh, let's go see. And as she goes through the door first, like, stabs and shit. No, she about to get ganked and she doesn't even know it yet. Oh no.
It was Skylar and John attacking Tom, and so that was his cue. Alonzo leapt forward and he grabbed onto Jackie, and before Jackie could even figure out what was going on,
he
had thrown her to the ground, pulled her hands behind her back, and then he pulled out handcuffs that he had, and he handcuffed her hands together.
Sounds like Jackie's here, Alonzo's here.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think Jackie was probably the only one. Like, they thought this out well, because I think Jackie was the only one Alonzo could handle, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. Again, dude just seems like a little scrawny rat piece of shit. But, like, yeah, I don't know, man. I also would not have, I don't know, if I was in my senses, as soon as the mama and the baby were gone, I would have been like, yo, Jackie, like, do not leave my sight. Like, keep an eye on everybody. Warn me if something looks like it's up. Something about to stop. If you see them like start to reach for something or anything, like, get my attention immediately. Like, you know what I mean? Like I would pull my partner aside, be like, okay, look, I don't trust these motherfuckers, but like I'm coming back against the wall, like get ready to roll, like get ready to bounce. You know what I mean? Like, alert me of any set of movements, anything. You know what I mean? Like, let's handle this. Let's handle ours. But that just could be me being like super fucking paranoid. No, I did. Something like that happened, like, because usually I have like a pocket knife. Again, no good if someone's got a ranged weapon, but like, I don't really want to carry a gun with me everywhere, because it would be probably pretty visible, make a lot of people uncomfortable, not allowed to go into a lot of places and stuff, and also I don't really know how to shoot very well at all. So I usually bring that with me whenever my girl and I go on hikes and stuff, because we gotta do like a lot of walking, hiking stuff. Love nature, love exercise, good stuff. And one time I forgot it at home and stuff, so I just straight up told her, it's just like, all right, yeah, if anyone gets froggy and stuff, like hope you're ready with your eye gouges and stuff. We're going for the eyes and the throat, like. We're gonna get real up in here. I mean, nothing's ever happened, but like I don't fuck around. As I mentioned in that one story that I was reminded of earlier, like the last story kind of reminded me of it. That one girl who's also like a music tutor and whatnot, was going to college for music and stuff like that. That her best friend like choked her to death and like killed her and stuff. You know what I mean? And that one, that's like, as I mentioned in that one, if you ever watched that one, it's a long one, but it's an interesting one. It's wild shit. Like, literally, whenever I'm walking, like, I don't trust people. Like, I know I'm super paranoid. I don't know where this came from. Couldn't tell you. But, like, I'm kind of like, whenever someone's, like, passing me on trail, like, I kind of, like, tense up a little bit. Like, I kind of get ready to strike if I need to. Just ready to fucking pounce if I just see them kind of move at me. Just ready to fucking go. And when they pass, like, I will kind of like take a step or two, and then I'll like turn around and watch as they walk, take a few more steps, listening if I hear any kind of change of direction, if they start running or something, ready to turn back around, ready to blast off. But then a couple more steps, look, just make sure they keep going. But okay, like every time without fail. So, like in this situation, when like they got like the scrawny looking rat motherfucker, this big dude who looks like he's just ready to fuck someone up, and Skylar, I don't know if I'd get a bad read off Skylar, but like with the company he's keeping, I don't know if I trust him much either. And I was already apprehensive, but like oh, they brought a baby, and all of a sudden like, oh, I have to go actually. Security levels fucking firing on all. Like, I'm not taking my eyes off them. Like, I ain't taking my eyes off them for a fucking second. Like, and if they make a movement, man, Like, I'll apologize later for dropping them. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, I thought you were gonna fucking knife me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they even like reach in their pockets, I just got some spare change, or lying around not taking them out. You know what I mean? Apologize later. It's like, I wouldn't reach for your pocket if I was you. You know what I mean? I don't trust y'all motherfuckers. You know, that would just be me. But again, I'm super paranoid for whatever reason. It's like I hear people like who like smoke weed tend to be paranoid and stuff. I've never smoked weed in my life. Yet somehow I'm paranoid, which is probably a good thing that I don't smoke weed, because it might make me more paranoid. But then there's of course people that's like, well, no, that depends on the strain, man. And just, I don't know, blah 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 blah, whatever. I don't care. I don't do drugs. Anyways, all I'm saying is, you ain't to quote the immortal, the great Stitches, you ain't gonna catch me slipping. Never. There you go. That's it. Anyways,
that he had, and he handcuffed her hands together.
Sounds like Jackie's here, Lonzo's here, and then that's where Thomas Hawks, Skylar, and JFK are on the bottom. And Jackie hears the commotion. She looks down this way, and this is where Alonzo overpowers her.
And as soon as Jackie was subdued in the kitchen, Skylar and John, they come up the stairs, and Tom's not with them, and they grab Jackie, and they walk her down into the bedroom, and Jackie would have seen her husband, Tom. He's been handcuffed, and he's laying on the bed on his back. And so they throw Jackie onto the bed right next to Tom, and immediately Jackie turns around and looks at Skylar and says, "Why are you doing this to us? We just met your wife. I just held your baby. Why are you doing this? All we want to do is just go back to land and be with our children and be with our grandchildren, please." But Skylar didn't care. He just turned to Alonzo and said, "Put tape on both of their mouths and their eyes." And as Alonzo was doing that, Skylar went upstairs and began piloting the boat towards the deepest part of the ocean. And so as Skylar is driving this boat, Alonzo...
There's no way they did it gangster style. There's no way they just like cement threw them off to drown. Wow.
When John are down in the bedroom, and Alonzo remembers looking over at Tom, and Tom was comforting Jackie. He had managed to pull his hand up, and he was stroking Jackie's hand, and he was saying to her, "It's going to be okay. No matter what happens to us, we'll be together." Suddenly, the boat stopped because Skylar...
That is like the sweetest, saddest shit I've heard in a long time. Like, him not trying to be like, don't worry, we're going to get out of this, everything's going to be okay. It's just like, hey, you know, whatever happens, if we die here today, we're together and whatnot. That's like, goddamn, that like, that perspirated me up a little bit. I ain't going to lie. That was, wow. That was sweet.
Had reached the deepest part of the ocean, and he called down to John and Alonzo to bring Jackie and Tom up onto the deck. And so Alonzo and John...
You probably don't even need to. What was I say? Probably even don't need to submit them if they're like handcuffed behind their back and stuff. They probably wouldn't swim anyways.
Do just that. They march Tom and Jackie up the steps. They bring them out to the deck of the ship, and then Skylar forces them to sign the sale documentation for the boat, as well as had them sign additional paperwork that gave...
Oh, I mean, I guess. I guess if you do actually have money that you want to be clean and whatnot, and not looking like you've stolen the boat or anything like that, then like, I guess that makes sense. So that's just wild. Like, hey, sign this document before we kill you.
Gave Skylar access to their bank accounts, and while...
Oh wow, yeah, that's insane.
While they were signing these documents, Jackie actually misspelled her last name on one of the signature blocks. She left the S off of her last name. That's not something she would have done by accident. It's pretty clear she did that on purpose to signal to the future that she signed this under duress. Yeah. After all these documents were signed, the three men led their two captives to the back of the boat.
That's some like series of unfortunate events stuff right there.
And then once they were standing at the back of the boat, Skylar tells Alonzo Alonzo, in earshot of Jackie and Tom, to, hey, go to the front of the boat and get the anchor. And so Tom and Jackie, they know that whatever's going to happen to them next,
drowning.
it's not good. And so Jackie begins pleading with them to let them live, let them go back to land, let them see their grandchild.
That didn't work the first time, Jay. I know you're freaking out in panic mode. No one wants to be told that you're going to drown on your way to the dark depths of the sea. But, like, at this point, I would personally, I would try to fight in any way, shape, or form. Even that's just using shoulders and headbutting and stuff like that. To at least, if that doesn't work, get them to kill you. So you don't have to drown while, like, submerging all the way to the depths of the ocean. Like, I would, I'd be like, I'd rather you just kill me right here and then toss my body over. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't you dare attach a fucking anchor to me and just throw me overboard. Like, the disrespect. Come on now. Like, you're going to steal my boat, take my life, take my bank account, like, whatever. But, like, don't disrespect me like that. Like, that's fucking insane.
And Tom manages to shake his restraints from John, who was holding him, and he manages to kick Skylar really hard in the groin.
Yeah.
But after that, John leapt on top of Tom and Jackie and subdued both of them. And then he positioned Tom and Jackie so they were sitting down back to back with their handcuffs connected to each other. And then Alonzo shows up dragging this heavy anchor, and he finally gets it all the way over until it's right next to Tom and Jackie, at which point Skylar grabs the long metal chain that came off of the anchor, and he felt around until he got to the very end of the chain. So not the side closest to the anchor that's attached to it, the far other side, the bitter end of this chain. And he reached down and he connected that portion of the chain to Tom and Jackie's handcuffs. And then once he was sure their handcuffs were securely fastened.
All this just to get a boat and some money? You're gonna take these strangers and just throw them off into the abyss just for some money and a boat. The fuck?
To the end of this chain. Skylar stood up, walked over, and grabbed the anchor, and with quite a bit of effort, he managed to lift it up and threw it over the side of the boat. As soon as that anchor hit the water, all Tom and Jackie would have heard for several seconds would be the sound of all of that loose chain that they were connected to being rapidly pulled off the boat and being sucked down into the water. And so that chain was going up and over this wooden railing, and so all they would have heard is just chain links grind.
This is like right out of a movie. Man, it's wild. This person learned way too much theatrical shit as a child star, as a child extra.
Over the railing until finally the anchor pulled the chain tight, at which point it yanked Tom and Jackie towards the side of the boat. Alonzo would say when this happened, Jackie's head struck the inside of the side of the boat. So,
I mean, hopefully she was unconscious or dead. Like, that'd be so much better than, like, being pulled into the darkness while drowning. Like, that would just be so much better for you. I would much prefer that personally.
Hard, it made this very loud, audible cracking sound. And then Skylar, Alonzo, and John just stood there as Tom and Jackie desperately tried to fight against the weight of this anchor that was trying to pull them off of the boat. Tom was trying to hold on to anything he could to try to hold his wife in place, but eventually the weight of this anchor combined with the movement of the boat was just too much. And so Tom and Jackie were very slowly pulled up and over and off the boat into the water. When they hit the water, they would have been fully alive, fully conscious as they began their rapid
for both of them. That's unfortunate, but yeah, no, that's
descent to the bottom of the ocean, 3,500 feet below. Alonzo would tell police as soon as Tom and Jackie disappeared below the surface, Skylar let out a woohoo and ran over to the edge of the boat and looked into the water like a giddy child. And he was staring at where they had disappeared, and he was just grinning and laughing. And then finally, when the water went calm and there were no more bubbles, Skylar just kind of laughed, turned around, and made his way back to the cockpit and began piloting the boat back towards the dock. Even though Jennifer was not on the boat at the time of the murder,
she knew.
She was equally involved in it. In fact, the attack was her idea. She wanted more money, and she saw this scheme as being a way of doing that. So remember, when she showed up at the dock parking lot with her baby
She fully
and put
knew
Jackie
what
and
was
Tom
about to
at ease
happen
to help
to
get
Jackie.
them out on that sea trial, she was doing that very intentionally to trap Jackie and Tom. She knew what was going to happen out on that boat. She was trying to get them to go so they could be murdered and they could steal their boat. And when Skylar was out on the boat, before, during, and after the murders, he would step aside and call Jennifer to let her know how it was going and kind of get her feedback and ask for advice about what they should do next. With that in mind, one of the darker elements of this case has to do with the video camera that was discovered inside of Jennifer and Skylar's house. It was the Hawks video camera, and they had used it over the past couple of years to document their travels out on the ocean. And so when the police acquired this video camera, they played the tape that was inside of it. And at first, the tape shows Jackie filming the inside of the well-deserved yacht, and she's talking about how sad it was that this is probably one of the last times they'll be inside of this boat. But she and Tom are so happy because they've found buyers who are going to take great care of this boat, and they're excited about the future, they're excited about their grandchild. And then suddenly, this footage of Jackie inside of the boat just totally cuts, and it jumps to Skylar and Jennifer at Thanksgiving dinner that year, playing with their daughter and just having this great time, meaning just days after Jennifer and Skylar murdered Tom and Jackie in the worst way imaginable. They took their camera and just began using it for their own lives, recording their own life over the memories of Tom and Jackie. Jennifer,
the pure disrespect and disgustingness that is in this video. I understand now why Mr. B said that this was like top 5. Like, that is just like, it's the little things that people do that are just so fucked up. Like the last one, the Go On 3 thing, to where she tweeted that shit, is just like so dark and disrespectful that it's just like, it's like it is what the definition of evil is. Like, that is just, that's evil. Like, it's one thing to take another person's life, especially when they're a stranger and they've done absolutely nothing to you. It's another thing to then piss on their grave. Like, that's fucked up.
Jennifer and Skylar truly didn't care at all about what they had just done.
No.
Alonzo would ultimately be sentenced to 20 years in prison. Wow. He would have gotten a much more severe sentence, but because he...
true, because he was a huge accomplice in that murder. Like, he wasn't just there or just knew what happened. He willingly and actively participated. I thought it was going to be much lower than that. But, like, yeah, he probably would have gotten at least 1 or 2 life sentences. Maybe 1 for not being, like, the main assailant. Yeah, I guess that is reduced. Though, not necessarily unwarranted, because he was a criminal, and he believed his criminal friends just like, actually, I'm an assassin, but I only killed the bad guys. So in a sense, he was kind of lulled into a false sense of reality in that scenario, but still pretty fucking guilty. So I'd say 30 years is pretty fair. I don't know if it said 20 or 30. I want to say he said 30. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty fucking fair. Yeah. So I know they're older. And I know, I don't know about the stabbing to the throat until it stops gurgling is more vicious than throwing someone overboard with a fucking anchor. Very sinister and fucked up. But I know they're older. They're not teenagers. But the teenagers in the first one that I keep referencing back to, and that one I kept referencing back to, that killed their friend, they got like 40 or 50 years. With no chance of parole. So let's see if this premeditated, since it's, just gonna say people that identify as the male gender. Let's see if they get an opportunity for parole for a premeditated homicide. Let's find out what the ruling is, shall we?
Didn't care at all about what they had just done. Alonzo would ultimately be sentenced to 20 years in prison. He would have gotten a much more severe sentence, but because he provided all of the details of what happened and he was promised a reduction in sentence.
He also ratted, so they're probably gonna kill him. He's got to be in a new prison.
He was only given 20 years. Jennifer would be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and John Kennedy and Skylar were sentenced to death.
Let's go. Chop them. See, that's what I'm saying, man. That's what's up, dude. So I'm just saying, the firing range and shit, you know what I mean? That's probably not how they did it. Obviously, they probably just did injection or some shit, but I'm telling you, firing range, man. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you didn't watch the last one. These teens have a terrifying secret. Talked about this in that one. It's just I recorded 3 back to back today, so that's why I'm linking them all together and whatnot. So just want to point out there, obviously it was a double homicide, so that's different, and of course the age is a difference in there as well. And obviously the female in here got life without a chance of parole, which is great. Take that child away from her. The child needs therapy as well. Just was raised by psychopaths. Definitely need help there. But just saying, I mean, obviously different states, different stuff, but like a bunch of two girls have well, I just remember that Alonzo didn't get the death penalty because he definitely, you know what, definitely a reduced punishment. They did not lie about that. Two girls have a premeditated homicide, parole in 10 years. 2 dudes have premeditated homicide, they get put to death. I'm not trying to make about gender or anything. I'm just saying, just pointing out maybe some unfairness here. So I'm saying. I know the difference of age and stuff, but just saying here.
The possibility of parole, and John Kennedy and Skylar were sentenced to death.
Good. 2021, John and Jackie Hawk's bodies have still not been found. Yeah, I would imagine not. They're straight up bootstrap Ballen at the bottom of the fucking ocean, man. Like, you would have to literally comb the bottom of the ocean, which I don't think we've even discovered most of, to find their bodies for like probably thousands, not hundreds of thousands of miles. I mean, I'm not surprised it has not been found.
So that's gonna do it, guys. If you got something out of
damn dude, fuck, dude. Yeah, okay. Bruv. What? So, that was a fucked up story. I wish it would have been more would have been shown about Skylar in these videos and stuff, and maybe any pictures or videos and stuff of his childhood actor life, because I feel like that would have done more justice to the title of This Child Star Is Evil. It's the thumbnail is a picture of the child, of him as a child actor. I kind of wish that was like more of a focal point of the video and more was discussed and discovered, even though it has very little to do with the overall arcing story. It would have been cool to see more clips and more details, and maybe behind the scenes stuff of him talking stuff, maybe get some kind of clue if we could have like seen it beforehand, or if he seemed like a completely normal child or anything like that would have been cool additions and whatnot, since it was so specifically, heavily focused on in both the title and the thumbnail. But still a good story. Horrible ending, like straight up Pirates of the Caribbean, like bootstrap build, thrown down to the crushing depths of the ocean. Except for these people could die, unlike Bootstrap Bill. Although he did end up dying technically. Like yes and no. That's not important. Lessons, stuff we can take away from here. Hey guys, we gotta stop focusing so much on money. Like, yes, money is nice to have. It brings a lot of comforts, and all that good stuff. But like, in the end, like, we shouldn't ever let money control us, our emotions, our actions, our thoughts this badly. You know what I mean? Like, money's not that important to just murder strangers to get more of it. Like, that's a takeaway from here. Like, it's not that serious. Money's not that serious. Stop taking it that serious. You know, you feel me? You know what I'm saying? So that's one. And two, like, obviously, you probably weren't winning against Tom, not John. John was the other guy. Tom, you know, probably not beating Tom on a 1v1. I get that. So, you know, bringing back up and stuff. I get that. But, like, bro, you had so many loose ends. So many loose ends that you were just saying, please catch me. I want to see if you have the balls to catch me. You were just telling them. You were full on, what's it called? Zodiac killer, like, please catch me, bitches. You ain't got none. Like, that's like pretty much what you were saying. With how many loose ends you were just like, hey, you should go. Like, this person was definitely there. That person was definitely there. You should go ask them. Bro, and if you had, I don't know if Alonzo ever got paid. If you had $1 million, I mean, I don't know if they would have known this though. Like, if you had $1 million to give to Alonzo, and you're only recouping 500,000 of that approximately, obviously, you know, signing over the power of attorney to their bank accounts and stuff like that. But I don't think they had like a lot much left after, even after the several years, because they weren't working. Maybe they had some kind of like retirement fund or something that was, you know, fueling some kind of money or stuff. But like, they weren't working, so like. Yeah, they probably didn't have a whole lot of money. So, like, if you actually gave him $1 million and didn't screw him over, which would have been an awesome detail to know, then, like, you didn't really recoup any of those losses. You just kind of murdered for funsies. I'm sure you had to pay John as well. I don't think John was just, like, down to clown. So, like, I'm pretty sure you lost money in that transaction just to murder someone and then left a billion loose ends and ended up getting put to death. Now, it would be weird if I ever watched the Power Rangers. It's just like, oh, that motherfucker. This Skylar guy's fucking run. He's a psychopath. He's going to murder you. That would be interesting. Anyways, this has gone on for long enough. Next one, we're going to the beginning. We're going to the very beginning of Mr. Ballen. What I saw in my room still haunts me. Which looks like some kind of sleep paralysis demon, which I am so down for. Which actually some of these will be faster because that one's like a 5-minute one. That one's an 11-minute one. So we're going to start jumping back and forth. But anyways, we're going back to the very beginning. 5 years ago. 20 motherfucking 20. It's going to be interesting. Thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoyed. I feel bad for these people. There's a lot of fucked up people in the world, man. We gotta I feel like something needs to be done to stop these people, but what are you gonna do? Anyways, I'll see y'all next time.